So I've made this edit before my video starts. There are some important points which I don't want anyone to miss, and I've made chapter markers in my video, and that is at around 5 minutes on speeding and drinking, and 8 minutes on riding without a license. So if you don't want to hear me, going on in the video, please just watch those points because they're really important. But I'm still hoping everyone watches the whole video, and please make some comments. I'll appreciate that, and enjoy. So today I want to talk about how dangerous riding actually is, and a lot of people just quote the number that it's 26 times more dangerous than driving, and I think that's a bit of like a misconception, and it's not actually clear. It sounds bad, right? 26 times more, but I want to clear up the context behind those statistics, because anytime that you deal with these sorts of numbers, statistics, things like that, there's a lot of context that needs to be explained so you can get a true understanding of how dangerous riding is based on that number. So like I said, that number sounds pretty bad, 26 times, but 26 times more than what? More than a car. So how often are people dying in a car? 26 times of jack is still jack. That's why insurance companies don't care when, like life insurance, they don't care if you ride a motorcycle, because they look at, the chances, probability of someone dying based on certain activities. Now, life insurance companies won't really cover any track racing that you do. They won't cover road racing as well, but they don't care about, just riding your motorcycle around, around the streets in a legal manner. So I'm not saying riding is not dangerous. It is dangerous, right? But I want to clarify. I want to ask, is it the bike that makes it dangerous, that gives it that 26 times, or is it the behavior? If you are involved in a crash, how likely are you to survive that crash? One of the statistics on that says that you're about 30% likely to not survive a motorcycle crash. That means if you have about 3.3 crashes, you won't survive it. Firstly, I want to point out that those crashes don't include, when you drop your bike or when you do a low side and nothing is reported. Those things aren't included. What's included is, what it means is, if you're involved in a serious crash and like emergency units are sent out and things like that. Other people, like lawyers and stuff, say that, there's an 11 times, 1 in 11 chance that you won't make it from a crash. So in that case, it is the bike. You can't do much to change that statistic, whether it's the 30% one or the 1 in 11. You can't do much to change it. I mean, the only thing you can do really is like wear a helmet. That's statistically significant to survive the crash. But the other one where everyone talks about, which is the 26 times, is on a per mile basis, and that you can change based on your behavior. What are the behaviors that make you at risk, and what are the behaviors that are not, that don't put you at risk, that people say that it puts you at risk, but evidence-based research is showing that those things are not statistically significant. So welcome to my channel where we talk about bikes and Bible verses, and as usual at the end we've got a Bible verse. Please stick around for that. So the thing that ticks me off most is that everyone claims this 26 times more likely, but because it's based on behavior and your behaviors when you ride, you could be somewhere else within that 26. You could be less. You could be 15 times more likely. You could be 5 times more likely. You could be 100 times more likely. Not everyone needs to quote this 26 times. It doesn't apply to everyone. It applies to the behaviors that people ride. So when you ride with these certain behaviors, then those numbers apply to you. The first behavior that makes up around 60% of that 26 times, right? 60% is speeding and or alcohol. So if you don't do those behaviors, then you can take away 60% of that 26 times, right? So automatically you're not speeding and you're not drinking, right? That is less than half of 26, which is like, I don't know, 12 times. So already you've dropped a significant amount off of that statistic just by not speeding and not drinking. And when I say drinking, I mean 0 alcohol. I'm not talking about, you know, being under the legal limit. Alcohol severely messes up the skills that you need for riding, even if you're under the limit. The other behavior that people say is more dangerous, but it's not actually by research base, it's not statistically significant, is 1, riding at night, and 2, riding in bad weather like rain. Okay, from all the research, government research that's been done, those factors are not statistically significant. So I find it funny how all these people are talking about how you shouldn't ride at night, how you shouldn't ride in the rain, right? And they're like speeding and riding recklessly. Their behaviors are statistically significant to cause, you know, death, to cause like a crash and death. And they're talking about, you know, not riding at night or not riding in bad weather. Now, I'm not saying that not riding at, you know, riding at night is just as safe. It could be more dangerous. You know, riding in the rain could be more dangerous, but it's not significant enough. It could be, you know, if you look at like the graph of, you know, riding in the day compared to riding at night, because you've got the comparison of speeding and alcohol and all those other things, those other points look, you know, you can't even see them on the graph. It might be like just some dot point number more dangerous, but it's insignificant compared to these other factors. The other statistically significant factors are riding without a license, and that includes also riding a bike that's not yours. Those things sort of go hand in hand, and to me that is the most dangerous thing that can happen. My advice: don't give your bike to anyone. Don't let anyone ride your bike. If someone wants to jump on your bike and says, oh, I used to ride back in my country, they don't have a license and that, their chance of not coming back is extremely high, right? I've heard of like friends of friends that's happened to. I've heard that story too many times. Someone sees a bike, oh, let me jump on it. They don't have a license. They're not in the 26 times likely. They're in the like 1,000 times likely. That scenario is what skews this statistic, and that doesn't happen very often. So because it doesn't happen very often, you got to look at the amount of times that it happens compared to the amount of times that people don't come back, right? You know, if you jump on a bike that's not, you don't have a license, you jump on a bike that's not yours, like, oh, let me have a go, chances are there's a good chance that that person's not coming back, right? As sad as it is, but it's there's a lot of evidence around there. Don't let people ride your bike, especially if they don't have a license. Tell them, go out, get the training, start on a small bike, practice, you know, not knowing what you're doing on a bike or thinking what you know how to ride the bike is probably one of the most dangerous things that you can do on a bike. And the next statistically significant thing is not wearing a helmet, right? You know, it's funny, not many people actually ride in Australia. The study I'm talking about is from Australia. Okay, it's mandatory to use a helmet in Australia. I know in America, some states you don't have to wear one, right? So that makes up like a fair amount. I don't know what it was, like 5%. It doesn't happen very often, but yet they show up in the statistic. That is scary. You know, you got to take notice of stuff like that. You know, in Australia, everyone has to ride a helmet. It's very, very rare you see someone not wearing a helmet. Yet, as rare as it is, they manage to pop up in the statistic compared to, you know, let's say it happens 1 in 1,000 times. Yet that 1 in 1,000 times is making up, you know, 5% of all the death. So if you remove those things, right, you remove like speeding, drinking, having a license and riding, you know, a bike that's familiar to you, and wearing a helmet, you remove a lot of that 26 times statistic, and it could be down to something that's more manageable, a risk that's more acceptable, like maybe 5 times, maybe 5 times more likely. But even from there, I think you can go more. There was a study when I was watching like Twist of the Wrist, when I was watching Twist of the Wrist, they said that NYPD motorcyclists actually had half the rate of, I can't remember if it was crashes or deaths, or I think it was crashes. So, you know, even when you're doing everything right, there's still things you can do to be better, like learn defensive riding and be predictable. Be predictable when you ride. So I think there is a lot of improvement which you can make to get that statistic right down, so you can ride as many miles as a car does without being in a fatal crash. So that's all I got today. So I just want to end with a Bible verse, and that's from Psalms 91:15. It says, "He will call upon me and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him." So to me, that any verse about God delivering people from trouble, it means a lot to me, because it's helped me a lot in a lot of sort of things that I've been through. And also a lot of the times is we cause our own troubles in our life, and it may be like indirect, it may be because something we're doing in secret, and you know, our own like sin, our own disobedience to God. And like one thing I want to point out is a lot of the sins that God says are wrong, it's not because it offends God really indirectly, but it's because it hurts other people. And so, you know, when we do wrong to other people, that's why it's wrong in God's eyes, and that's why, you know, it causes trouble for us. And again, I always believe that it's not always direct. Sometimes you're doing something indirect, sometimes you're being dishonest, or you know, you're not being pure, you're not living like sexually pure and things like that, and you're having these other problems in your life which seem unrelated, or you're not giving God everything, like you're not sort of doing your best for humanity and to love God, I guess, and that's what's causes trouble in your life. But you know, when we call out to God and we repent and we say we want to change, we're not going to do these wrong things anymore, God honors that, right? And He can do miracles. He can do a miracle in your life. So anyway, that's all I've got today. If you like this video, please hit the like, and if you like my content in general, please subscribe, and make a comment. Comments really helps my channel. You know, I'm just a small channel, so that sort of stuff really helps. Yeah, and take it easy and ride safe.